my boy, Blue!
Welcome to the Built After Hours podcast, hosted by industry expert Edwin Eaton, where we talk with the bold entrepreneurs who built their service businesses after the world clocked out. Real talk, real risk, real results. Let's get into it.
Shake it back!
Welcome back to the Built After Hours podcast, season 2. I'm your host, Edwin Eaton, and today's guest wears a lot of hats in the cleaning world. He's a business owner, a coach helping others grow, and even an MC at industry events. We're diving into his journey, how he got started in cleaning, what drove him to launch a cleaning coaching business, and the biggest lessons he's learned over the last 20 years in this industry. So welcome to the show, Josh Melton, owner of Athens Cleaning Company. Josh, my man, how's it going?
It's going great, my friend. I appreciate you having me on. This is an awesome podcast. You do such a great job. I've listened, literally, I can say this, 100% honesty, every single episode that you've done. And 20 years in the industry, I still get something out of every episode. So I appreciate you having me on the podcast and more importantly for doing this podcast for us, those of us in the industry.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on because I think there's, you've been in the industry for 20 years. And so you've got a lot of insight and industry knowledge, especially with your coaching. So I think this is going to be a good conversation we're going to have. So
yeah, man, let's do it.
What was it? A couple of weeks ago, we were just in Nashville together.
That's right. That's right. Man, I say we were in Nashville, but like, were we really in Nashville? We were at the huge resort. I'm like, I was barely in Nashville because I was just in that giant Gaylord Opryland or whatever it's called. It's amazing.
The big atrium. Yeah.
It was crazy. So a great event though. Ricky does such a great job of hosting those industry events and helping us all build community and connect with each other.
But I got to say hats off to you because you second year in a row, and maybe it's been more. I've been to the last two, but for the last two, you've been the MC there and you do a phenomenal job. I mean, the way you command the room and you get people engaged and energized for it. I mean, you do a great job at that.
I appreciate you saying that, man. There's something unique when someone like myself doesn't have a filter, so I do have the ability to stand up in front of people and just not really feel self-conscious and be able to kind of poke fun at myself. I think that sometimes helps, ease the tension that might be in a room where you don't know anybody yet. So, but I appreciate you saying that. It's easy to do it because there's such a great lineup of speakers there. And I say this every year, and seriously, Edwin, like I mean it. I'm like, the people are so daggum attractive. I had no idea a room full of cleaning business people would be so daggum good looking, but it's an easy group to stand in front of and talk to for sure.
That's good. That's good. Well, hey, I know you, but a lot of the listeners may not know you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, how you got into it?
Yeah, so I got into it reluctantly. I like to say I never wanted to be Josh the janitor. I just had too much ego and too much desire for typical world status, I think, for that in the beginning. But our business started, my wife, after we graduated college, we got married, and she said, I think I want to start cleaning houses. And, my great wisdom back to her, Edwin, was like, I mean, that's what you want to do, more power to you. It made zero sense to me. But she started doing it and she was just scraping by with it. She was being a nanny and cleaning houses sometimes and just trying to figure the thing out. And I remember having one conversation with her. We were walking through, doing a walk. We're probably 25 years old. I was like, hey, I really think, you just need to go get a job. And we both had a desire and dream to be business owners. But again, I was like, I don't want to be Josh the janitor. Like, this is not the thing. And she said, I really feel like we're supposed to do this. And then 6 months later, that was the summer. 6 months later, I quit my job. Both went full time in the industry. At that point, I started cleaning houses myself. Hated every single minute of it. But we got in the commercial side of it too. But still, nothing. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I chased a lot of other entrepreneurial things outside of this business for a long time. And then I came back full time into the industry in 2018. So we've been around for 20 years at this point. But it was really the end of 2018 that I decided to take the business seriously. And to really, treat it like a business. I feel like God said, just stop treating this like it's something else different than what it is. Like, this is your business. Treat it like it's your business. Honor me in it and see what I'll do. And my wife and I both came back into the business, and it's been really fun since then. What God's created through our company, we're very proud of it at this point. And again, so I went from being reluctant Josh the janitor to being now, speaking on Cleaning Company podcast and hosting my own and stand up on Cleaning Company stages, which I didn't even know that was a thing back in the day. But that's kind of our journey. And at this point, again, man, I'm so blessed and really proud of the industry that we're in. So it's been a full 180 turn from that standpoint of my perception and belief in this industry. Get great people like yourself in it, doing some great things.
And that's amazing, everything you've gone through. And I like the fact that you call yourself Josh the janitor. right? I think a lot of people get into being an entrepreneur and starting your own business. I see a lot of people who start, using terms like CEO, president of the company, and things like that. Nothing wrong with that, because technically you are. But I think the more humble approach, like you, Josh the janitor, when I introduce myself to people, yeah, what do you do for a living? Oh, I clean toilets and I take out trash. And they just kind of look at me like, what? Like, I don't need to be, oh, hey, I'm a CEO of a 3-time Inc. 5000 company, all that kind of. I don't need to list off everything that I've done. Just basic. I clean toilets, take out trash. And so that's what I like about you. You're genuine, you're humble, and you just tell it like it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were talking about your journey getting into this over the last 20 years. So you mentioned a few entrepreneurial things that you did prior to this. So what were you doing? Because we all end up, gaining some kind of skill set and using those in this industry. So what type of jobs did you have, prior to commercial cleaning?
Yeah. So I'll tell you the start for me. So I always had something in me, Edwin, that was like a rebellious streak or something. It's like I was a good kid. I followed the rules and stuff like in high school and with my parents. I didn't get in trouble, but I don't know. I wanted to think for myself, and eventually there was something in me that wanted to do something on my own. I had no idea that was business until I graduated college. I got invited to an Amway presentation. It was called Quick Start at the time. And I got, in front of this guy with a whiteboard, and he drew out the cash flow quadrant. And I'd never seen that dadgum cash flow quadrant, right? The ESBI thing. I was like, what in the world is this? And that was honestly the first time. So I was college educated, but that was the first time I ever learned about like that business ownership meant that you could build a business that you were no longer trading your time for money. So a lot of people hate direct sales, hate network marketing, hate the pyramid schemes, but for me, man, it gave me a dream of business ownership. And honestly, it taught me how to think, because then I was hungry to learn something. And so they just kept giving me, hey, read this book, read Magic of Thinking Big, read, Think and Grow Rich, read these books, read the Cash Flow Quadrant, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so I started reading all these books. I started listening to these podcasts and, things of that nature, which there weren't very many podcasts in the early 2000s. But it created this seed in me of hunger, of wanting to do my own thing. And that's why, again, you're going through that. So when we started the cleaning business, I was like, well, I already knew I wanted to have a business. I already knew I wanted to control my own time. But it just, I didn't want the cleaning business. I had a hard time cleaning houses. It just made me feel less than, honestly. And I think that's atypical probably for men in the house cleaning business. It's just, that's probably easier for us to be in commercial cleaning, I think, than house cleaning. But so I had insurance business for a long time. I never succeeded at that at a high level. One of those things where I was like, I know I can do this. Why am I not doing it? Really, when it came down to it. But I did that. I ran a realtor association. So my last job that I had, this was kind of interesting, is I worked for a board of directors. So it was like, I can't have a boss. I was like, I'm a board of directors. I could do it. So I did that for 3 years as the CEO of that. And then a lot of other, minor parts of businesses. I was a partner in a lawn maintenance company for a while, in a disaster restoration company, in a social media marketing company, all these things trying to chase it, really until, again, 2018, which is we were about to make this big transition in our cleaning business. So I'm running it on the side, and I have a manager in place. But honestly, I was not treating this business right. I wasn't doing a good job as a leader. I just wanted to siphon income off of it and give it half effort. And that's really why we were at the transition from manager A to manager B. And I realized, I'm like, this doesn't go perfectly. I'm going to have to dive in and save it. So I just, talked to my business partners. Hey, I'm going to go in right now just in case. And when I did, I'd like to tell people it was the best thing that ever happened to our business. I went in and I saw all these cracks, Edwin. I saw all these problems. And I realized, I'm like, well, these problems are here because I've been neglecting this business. A business that's neglected, that really doesn't have a heart and soul to it. Like, you can't expect that that's going to succeed. And so I looked at all this stuff and I started seeing all this stuff I didn't like about it. And seriously, 6 weeks time period, we lost 25% of our revenue in 6 weeks, right around Thanksgiving to Christmas. And then, but that was the seed, man. That's what I needed. I heard this statement one time. It said, nobody likes rock bottom, but it's a pretty firm foundation. And so in that moment, I was able to say, like, what do I not like about this company? And there's everything I didn't like about it. I just inverted that. So it's like, I hate this part of it. I hate that we're not showing up the way we're supposed to show up. I hate that our cleaners aren't staying the amount of time. They're kind of cheating the time system. And I wrote down 7 core values. I wrote down a mission statement. I wrote down a vision statement. In that moment of just like, I was so angry. I'm grateful that I read enough books to know that the person to ultimately be angry at was me, because I was the leader. So anything that was happening within the organization, I was allowing to happen. And so the ability to look in the mirror and say, this is my fault, gave me the power to say, so I can fix it. And so, that was the birth of our core values. That was the birth of our the culture of our company. And that was, again, God telling me, just go all in, give it all of your gifts and abilities. Just go all into this and see what I'll do with it. And then it was, like to say, like it all turned into rainbows and butterflies. Then it didn't, but it was definitely the seeds of greatness for the company were harnessed in that time. That's when they were truly planted. And we had the faith to believe that we could do something with this. And so we haven't had a rapid rise of success. There's some company, I love John Disselkamp's stories. I mean, 0 to 8 figures and, less than 10. That's just a great story. That's not our story. But definitely we've built a company that we're proud of, a company that we feel like is a blessing to other people in that amount of time. And again, to the point where now I'm like, I'm excited. I'm proud of this company. In the same way as you, the people I say, oh, we own a commercial cleaning company. We clean banks and doctors' offices. That's the way I always answer it. And then I have to ask one of those questions, they quantifies it for success there. How many employees do you have? Oh, we have 140. And they're like, oh, it's, we thought you guys were just out there cleaning it.
Yeah, so, you're not a small company at all, no.
Yeah, it's like we've gained some success in the industry, and it's been fun doing that. But yeah, so I had a lot of entrepreneurial experience doing different things. But I'm grateful that God led my path back to here, because this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I'm grateful for that opportunity.
But it's amazing because, you had all those other jobs prior to this, right? And same with me. But for whatever reason, we kind of stuck with this industry. There's something about this industry. And I think it's why it gets overlooked, right? And then, like you said, you tell somebody you have 140 employees. They're like, what? You're just a cleaning company. How can this happen? Yeah. So the potential is
suddenly become more important, right? You're like, exactly. Oh, okay. Well, again, you're still and again, I really appreciate how you show up, because you are super humble, and how, when you're at events and the way that you give your time. But the reality is, like, you got one of the most successful cleaning companies out there. I mean, great recognition from the industry, or should be great recognition from outside the industry with Inc. 5000 stuff. You built this phenomenal company, but you'll still show up and say, like, oh yeah, I clean toilets for a living. And so I found that with a lot of the people I think, that for me at least, that I really respect in the industry, like that is the way they show up. They show up with an attitude of humility, and there's not a ton of bravado that goes along with it. And these are high caliber, entrepreneurs who are building really successful companies, but they'll still talk to somebody who's, doing $5 in annual revenue, and treat them like they're equals. And so I love that about the way you show up. And again, the way a lot of our peers show up in the industry as well. It makes it a fun industry to be in.
Yeah. I mean, you never know who the business owner is, where they've been in the past, and what knowledge you could gain from them just by talking to them. So just treat everybody the same. So you mentioned it, you got about 140 employees, which is amazing. Yeah. I mean, 20 years, that's great. So you're in Athens, Georgia, right? I want to say go Dogs, but I want to say it for the UW Huskies, but go Dogs for your Bulldogs.
Hey, well, listen, we can probably find some agreement on this, Edwin, is we could probably at least say go Falcons right now, at least a little bit.
Yep. You got our UW quarterback there, so I'm good with that.
So I'm trying to find a point of connection, but I'm in Athens, Georgia. So of course I say go Dogs, right? Yeah.
So how big, what's the population like in Athens, Georgia?
Yeah, so Athens is a college town, right? So a great little college town. It's renowned because a lot of people like to come here for it's like a smaller version of Austin, Texas, probably. There's a cool little music scene, but we're only like 45 minutes an hour outside of Atlanta. So for us, for our area that we're serving, it's really most of Northeast Georgia. I just picked up some accounts down in the middle Georgia, so we're starting to geographically spread. And this probably happened for you as well. As our clients, some of the clients that we serve, like, they just say, hey, well, y'all go clean it in this area. We'll go clean it in this area. So our geographical spread has not been like intentional. We're going from this city to this city as much as it's been a current client saying, hey, will you guys do it here? And we say yes. So yeah, we're serving Northeast Georgia, probably about from about a 2-hour geographic window around, not north, but like east, west, and south. We head out that way.
Okay.
And 140 employees. Most of those are part-time employees. Our model is a little different than most cleaning companies. So most of those people are working, very part-time hours, cleaning banks and doctors' offices 3 to 4 times.
I wanted to talk to you about that, because it may have been a podcast that I listened to about how you come up with what you name each of these part-time employees, how you came up with that. I'm trying to remember what podcast that was, but I got a kick out of it.
Avatars.
How avatars, how you labeled them. I thought that was pretty cool. If you can elaborate a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So, I feel like every successful organization, we talk about this part a lot. Like, hey, you need to know who your target client is, right? So for instance, in my business, it's like, look, bank branches. I love bank branches. They're great. They're my favorite. Doctor's offices. I'm like, oh, those are great. So those are my ideal clients. But most people don't talk as much about, like, what does your ideal team member look like? And so as I was thinking about that, It's like if I can figure out exactly what my ideal team member looks like, then I can, more easily figure out how to attract them to my company. And so I just looked for people within my organization that were my ideals. And I was like, well, what is it about them and their life situation that I could start looking for other people like that? And so I came up with 3 avatars that we look for primarily. The first one, again, these are all named after people that work. Some of them still work within my company. Some of them have gone, but it was just getting started, Joanne. So the idea here was like, this person gets out of college, they get their entry level job position, Edwin, and then they realize they told me I was going to make 40 grand, but my paycheck doesn't equal 40 grand. Like, what's going on here? They learned the harsh lesson of taxes, right? Those sorts of things. And so, maybe they bought themselves a brand new car as a graduation gift and they got the car payment and now they're realizing, oh crap, I'm not making as much money. So it's just getting started, Joanne. This was the person who was on the entry level of, they got their entry level job. They're not getting hired to be the senior level manager. They're working on the bottom. And so I'm like, they're going to need, the ambitious ones will be looking to pay off their college debt early, or maybe they have a car payment, or maybe they like to travel. So they're saving up for, for a summer trip to Europe. And so we're like, all right, we're looking for just getting started, Joanne. The second avatar was homeschool mom, Megan. So Megan's college educated, and she's just made the decision. I'm not sending my kids to the public schools. I'm going to raise my kids. I'm not going to work. I'm going to raise my kids here. And she may or may not need the money, Edwin, but dear God, what she needs is a little mommy time without everybody saying, mommy, 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 mommy. And so for her, say a little extra side money, that's great. But if I could just go into an environment by myself and not hear the word mommy for a couple hours, it'd be good for my soul. So homeschool mom, Megan. So we started to figure out, all right, how do we get into homeschool communities and then offer a job opportunity for that reason, that being the selling point of you just need some time by yourself. Mommy needs a hall pass. Mommy needs a night out. And then the third person was soon to retire Stephanie. And again, I've interviewed this lady named Stephanie one time. She still works for our company. She's a supervisor now. And she's like, Josh, I sit at my desk all day. And like, I really need to get up and get some steps in because I'm just sitting around all the time. And I know that's not healthy for me. And then like, I just don't have as much money in retirement as I'd like to have. So it'd be really good if I could just do a little something on the side, but save up some money for retirement and get some steps in. So it was those 3 people and we start looking for them. And then a lot of times we'll have that conversation. It's like, oh, which one of these, which avatar is this person we're talking about? Which one do they fit the most? And so we just boom, boom, boom. And not to say you've heard 3 ladies' names right there, right? So we still hire men, I'm like soon to retire Steve, just getting started Justin, whatever it may be. But that is, we do know that it falls on our team member wall. We have pictures out there right outside my office. It's like they fall into those categories very consistently with who we're hiring. So yeah, we know exactly who we're looking for and we find them that way.
That's great. I love that. I mean, is that like in your HR manual too, that you have these avatars listed in there?
You say an HR manual like we have one, but no, we do know, when we're looking for those things, we do know what we're looking for. It's from our HR team, we know where we're doing recruiting. We do know what we're looking for. And again, not to say we wouldn't entertain somebody who falls outside of that, but we just know when they fall into those little rims, we get excited about them. Hey, they're probably going to fit. Mm-hmm. One other piece to that too, I didn't mention this with all that, but we look for introverts. So part of our like onboarding process, like when they're turning in their application, and we're looking for professionals. So I have them upload a resume. Like I already see their resume on Indeed, but I want them to jump through a hoop, like so just because it's easy to apply for 40 places. So I'm make them work a little bit to apply for us. So I'm see the resume, see if they're professional, and then I'm going to send them a very brief, like 40 question, like DISC type assessment. Because I know if they're like an extroverted people person, I'm going to send them to a bank to work by themselves for 2 hours. It's like, that may not be the best fit, but if they're an introverted person who gets actually recharged, spending a couple of hours by themselves, I'm like, I have the best environment for that. Because largely our customer type for us, I'm largely sending one person into one building by themselves to clean. And that's just the model we started early on. And I like it. So we've kept doing it that way.
But you're also finding out that they're very detailed if they're filling out all this information, because I'll have people fill out applications and they'll forget things left and right. So by you doing this, I think you're kind of filtering out the people that are maybe a little less detailed and people that are going to do this. I think you're going to feel very comfortable with who you end up hiring with that process.
We're filtering out 90+% of the people.
That's awesome.
Because they're not willing to do it. And I'm like, well, if you're not willing to follow directions, like 3 simple directions, like, how am I going to trust that you're going to do what we've asked you to do when you're in the building by yourself? We're not watching you every single night. Yeah, so it's been, it's not a perfect system, but it's definitely, as we've evolved over the years and tried to make it more streamlined, it's been an effective system for us in our growth.
Well, I think slowly we're putting together your HR manual here with your avatars and then the way that you go through with the application process. So
I was hoping as a gift you would just send it to me when we're done talking.
oh,
You
sure.
need to
Yeah,
send
no
me
problem.
the HR manual.
Hey, I wanted to ask you too, 20 years in the business, and I know from when you started to where you're at now, it's very different.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of the listeners are brand new commercial cleaning business owners that listen to this podcast, and it's very competitive in this market now.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can get into it. You got $100, you can buy a mop bucket, a vacuum, some rags, some spray bottles, you're ready to go, right? But a lot of the larger facilities now are looking for kind of an all-in-one, you know, from janitorial to floor care to window cleaning to pressure washing, all that kind of stuff. Now, services that you offer now, do you offer all of those types of services?
So to the client, yes, but I do not perform all those services myself. So
Sure.
For the banks, doctor's offices, doctor's offices, the floors are largely going to be hard surface type floors. So they're going to be buffing floors, stripping and waxing. I have a subcontractor I use for all that. Now, a lot of my friends are like, you're crazy, you're leaving so much money on the table. And we are, we talk about bringing it in-house now. That's the level we're at. We have so much of it. But I was like, I never wanted, I'll give you the honest answer for me. Stripping and waxing specifically. I was like, I don't know how to do it intentionally. I was like, I will never learn how to do that because I don't want to be stuck doing that. And I knew if I learned how to do it, 3 a.m, I'm gonna be in some, doctor's office bathroom, stripping and waxing. So yeah, we do all those services that you mentioned, but we outsource them to vendors we've had long-term relationships with.
Now, in the beginning, when you were first just going out slinging out these commercial clients, did you offer those type of services, or were you just pushing out janitorial services?
Edwin, if in the early stages, if you'd asked me to spit shine your shoes, I would have done it. I would have said yes to everything.
Good answer.
I mean, they're like, will you pressure wash the sidewalk? Yes. Will you? Hey, we got some concrete. This was a real life scenario one time. We were doing a construction clean, it was a client that we had already got the contract for the ongoing cleaning. They're like, hey, when we were doing the sidewalk, we spilled some concrete on the asphalt parking lot. Can you get that up? I said yes. No idea how to do any of it. I'd never owned a pressure washer, nothing. Edwin, I just drove to Home Depot. I bought an electric pressure washer. I bought a bunch of random gardening tools. I'm out there hitting the concrete, trying to get it up off the asphalt. I had the pressure washer plugged into a spigot inside the place that we were doing the construction clean on, and literally I flooded the place by an inch of water. It was all state of the art tanning equipment, tanning salon. And she's like, hey, this looks leak. I had no idea what I was doing. But I would have said yes to anything because I was willing to learn, and obviously I was willing to, try to perform work. I didn't know how to do yet. So I do say do that with a hint of caution. It'd probably be really good for you. Instead of doing it the way I did it, is that if you had a trusted expert or mentor that you could bring in or ask questions, probably would have been better. 20 years, it's a lot more accessible to that stuff with the internet today versus back then. But I was absolutely willing to do anything I was asked. I would say yes to anything. And eventually I think over time, I realized how to say yes to only the right things. But when you're starting, you don't know what the right things are. You don't know what you're going to be good at, what you're going to like. So you are probably going to say yes to a lot more in the early stages than you are long term down the road. You start figuring out, I really like this particular. I just said to one of my guys a minute ago, I'm like, there's way more businesses here in our geographical area that we don't want to clean than there are that we do want to clean because we figured out what we like and what we don't like. But
I think, 20 years ago, I think subcontracting was a taboo word that none of us really wanted to do, give our clients to our competition to possibly steal them. But now it's just common. It's common in this industry now to sub out stuff. You're subbing out all your specialty services work. That's great.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's really the way to go to throw fuel on the fire and grow and scale at a rapid pace. So,
yeah.
But hey, I'm looking behind you there, and I swear it's like a Travis Matthews hat. But it's not. It's your guys' logo. I mean, that's a pretty cool logo.
That's our logo. Yeah, it's funny. It does look. There's a similarity to that for sure. That is our logo. This right here is we did a little Night Ninja campaign, and so my son actually drew this picture, and then we had it digitized. And so we have kind of within our team, we talk about being night ninjas. We're showing up. Nobody knows we're there. But yeah, that's our logo, and that came about. We had a website design one time. And the lady who designed the website, she just made that logo. We're in Athens, and in Athens, UGA's got an arch that people, walk through. It's like a sentimental arch. It's kind of based off that UGA arch, but then she just threw some other stuff in, and I just liked it. So I kept it. And then from a branding perspective, you guys are so good at branding. You are amazing with what you do. But what we did is, I'm like, people aren't going to want to wear a t-shirt that says like cleaning company on it. You know, they'll
Right.
wear it to work, but they're not going to wear it out. I was like, but that logo, I could see somebody wearing it. You know, I could see it's, and so we just, our logos just have that on there. Anything that we do, anything that we print, it's just got that on it. Exception of like, you know, proposals, of course, we're going to have a business name, but all of our t-shirts, all of our company branded stuff, it's just got that image. It's our customers know it, but you know, random people in society may not. In fact, this is kind of interesting, Edwin. A past employee reached out to me. There's this thing called the Dole, D-U-L-L, Dole Men's Club or something like that. It's a group on Facebook. It's like 1 million people in it. She goes, hey, I came across this in the Dole Men's Club and I thought you would find it entertaining. And it was somebody with one of our like company t-shirts. And this little girl had a picture of our shirt and a story. She said, I found this in my closet. I thought my boyfriend gave it to me. I asked him about it. It's not his. I have no idea how it ended up in my closet. I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea what it is. Can anybody figure it out? There was like thousands of comments. You know, of course, somebody image searched. There's, it's some cleaning company, blah, blah, blah. Big story. It was just random because, again, it's, you know, the logo is not, it's recognizable to those that know it, but not to a random
Free
person.
marketing right there for you. Free marketing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man, you can't even pay for this. This is great.
So, hey, another question, you know, just as we're learning more about your company, your business, your first customer, your first commercial cleaning customer, do you still have them today?
I do not. So this is interesting. I don't have them still as a customer. I have one of my first 5 customers, and that's where I was there earlier today. So that was it. So we started in the commercial side. My wife started cleaning houses 2005. I came full time to the company in 2006.
Okay.
And then in 2007, we picked up a credit union. It was the first one I picked up completely on my own. So 2006 was our first commercial customer. 2007 was our first credit union, and they're still clients today. That's what we were talking about, taking on a lot more of their branches today. Really great conversation. But the first one we picked up was a fitness center. And honestly, somebody asked me the other day on a podcast, they're like, hey, when did you believe you could go full time in this? I was like, it was the first commercial account. Because I was a business to business telemarketer. I was calling like IT professionals at work during the day. And I figured out how to do that. By the way, that was such a great skill to learn, how to overcome phone fear. Like being a telemarketer, just dialing from, and I justified it by saying, I'm not calling people at dinner. Like I'm literally calling the IT guy at work, and I just start talking about Star Wars or something. I'd get most of them on the phone for 30 minutes. I was trying to figure out if they got any opportunities coming up. But my first cleaning account was a fitness center. We cleaned it 5 days a week. And what we charged that client was almost as much as I made almost as much as I took home.
Oh, wow.
For my job. So I was like, okay, like I could just a little bit more, I could quit. So that was pretty cool. And we kept that job probably for like 4 or 5 years. Don't have it now. Don't want it now. We don't do fitness centers anymore. But a lot of my development time was at that fitness center. And honestly, the reason I love podcasting now is because, and when I was cleaning with there was not an iPhone. I had an iPod. So I had to pre-think, what do I want to listen to tonight? Make sure that sucker was charged. Oh gosh, if that thing wasn't charged, man, it was a brutal night of cleaning. Just me and my thoughts. And so I had to download podcasts. There were no cleaning podcasts.
No, there
so
weren't.
I, put some music on it. But I'd listen to Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income, another podcast called the Advanced Selling Podcast. I'd listen to books. I listened to The Millionaire Next Door. I listened to Think and Grow Rich. It was 1:30 in the morning, and I have an electric pressure washer spraying down the showers. And a steam room, this is a good one for you. Again, not knowing what I was doing, cleaning the steam room, I didn't know how to turn it off. It was on a timer. So I'd be in there cleaning this thing, Edwin, and it would just turn on. It would just I'd have no shirt on. I'd be in there just with my shorts on, trying to let this crap down. And about 6 months into it, the maintenance guy there was like, oh, yeah, you just turn it off this way. And I was like, you can turn it off.
It's that simple, huh?
No idea. But now I was in there listening to podcasts, and tired as all get out, but I was growing my mind, listening to these books and these podcasts and whatever it was, training myself how to think like a leader. And that's what I love about what you're doing now, because instead of me listening to something completely generic, back then, is that version of me in 2025 has got you in his ear at 1:30 in the morning, trying to decide to figure out if he thinks he can do it or not. He's got Edwin Eaton talking to him. So I think it's such a cool thing. But I'm really grateful I'm not in the showers at 1:30 with a pressure washer trying to.
Oh, I bet.
Get rid of staph infection or whatever it was at the time. So.
All right. Well, hey, Josh, moving along. This brings us to the first segment of the show, and I like to call this the live sales role play. So we're going to put your sales skills to the test. I mean, you're a cleaning business coach, so I'm pretty sure this is going to be a breeze for you. But before we dive into it, I need to give a shout out to our sponsor. So Live Sales Roleplay is brought to you by Clean Connect. Running a cleaning company is tough. Scheduling, emails, customer calls, it can feel like you're working 24/7. That's where Clean Connect comes in. They provide virtual assistants who understand the cleaning industry so you can delegate the busy work and focus on growing your business. Free up your time, cut the stress, and scale faster with Clean Connect. Check them out today at cleanconnect-va.com and see what a dedicated VA can do for your company. So Josh, Live Sales Roleplay, I'm going to ask you a question, a common sales objection, and I want to see how you'd handle this. So are you ready?
I think so, man. I think so.
All right, let's do it. So you're speaking to a potential new customer and they hit you with just so you know, we want the cheapest bid. So how would you answer this statement?
All right. I love this one, by the way. This one's great because I would much rather personally I like when I get a call back. I like when I lose a bid and I get a call back later. And so this is a bid I'm going to lose on purpose because I'm not going to make the bid. So I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Eaton, I appreciate you sharing that with me. We are not a low-cost provider at all. In fact, we're probably going to be one of the higher bids that you have. I can share the reasons why if you're interested in that, but if you already know you want to go with the lowest bid, actually, I got a couple recommendations of some companies that you can call where that's really what their target is. You know, they're more of the McDonald's of the industry, so we're trying to be more like Chick-fil-A, so we don't have a value menu. We're not going to be your lowest price. If that's what's most important to you, we're not going to be the right vendor for you.
Love it. And it's one of those where, and again, you've been in this industry for 20 years, but you have to know your worth. Right? Because if you don't know your worth, if you don't know how to run your numbers, right? Your profits, your taxes, your overhead, all that kind of stuff, you could take on this bid and you're going to be losing money. I mean, I've told this story before. We had we have a lot of rivers where I'm at. So with rivers, there's dams. And so all the dams are part of what they call the PUD, the public utility districts, and they all go out for bid as government type contracts. So there was one, it was probably 7 years ago, went out for bid. The facility manager said it's a 1 year bid and it's going to be $834,000 for the year. Okay, perfect. There were about six of us cleaning companies, doing the whole dog and pony show, checking out all the ins and outs of the facility. But when it comes down to it, $834,000 a year is what they have basically said. This is what it's going to cost to maintain it. You just have to be a little bit under it. But what happens is they take the cheapest bid. So the big national players, they were pretty high on the bid. I was still up there, but I was the winning bid. And I think I was like at 800 and maybe 17,000, somewhere in that range. The incumbent, who was late to the meeting, showed up, presented the bid. They read the bids out loud. So again, 834,000. I think I was the lowest at the point at 817,000. She ended up at $275,000 was her bid. So she automatically won it. And so what that did is it just completely messed up that account moving forward, because the next year it went out for bid and they said, well, she couldn't do it for 250,000. So let's raise it to maybe 400,000. And then just as of this year, it's finally starting to get back to where it should be. But because of that, it's kind of ruined everything in that area for that market. So yeah, I mean, your answer is great. You can always walk away from something, recommend another company, because who knows, they may come back to you because the cleaning is not to the level that they want. Say, okay, Josh, let's give you a shot. Let's see what pricing you come up with.
Yeah, we have two things. So our mission statement as a company says we go above and beyond to serve people. And again, it's not just something on the wall. It's not something that's in the handbook. So that's really what we're like. So in that type of situation, we're not going to be egotistical. We're not going to try to educate the client. Like, we're really not. We're like, well, if that's what they're looking for and that's what they value, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. So we want to try to serve them. So we will legitimately recommend them to somebody we know as a lower priced provider. And typically for us, it's like, it might be a vendor we work with that's way smaller, where like maybe the owner's doing all the work and they can afford to do it. So I'm like, all right, I'll try to bless that guy and I'll bless you guys, knowing as well, like even for that guy, if he scales at all, that's going to be a problematic account for him. So we get a lot of those that come back to us down the road. Again, for us, I'm like, well, I'm going to, whether they're my client or not, I want to try to serve them well. And I think this is the best way to serve them. The other thing with that is we say this within our team a lot, whether this is the way we leave an account like per night or the way we leave an account if we do lose a client. We say exit with excellence. So in that, again, we want to be super humble about it. We want to just seek to serve and be like, so I'm going to exit that conversation or exit that bid opportunity with excellence from my perspective, so I can feel good about it. I treated those people really well, knowing that if we do that as well, like if that doesn't work out, maybe they keep the same mentality. Let's find another low cost provider. Eventually, they get tired of changing cleaning companies, right? Yeah. They're just like, okay, let's go hire those guys. Let's hire some people who know what they're doing. But I will tell you that the thing that I share a lot with other cleaning company owners in regards to that budget item or looking for a low cost provider is like, if you think about it in life, really most of our stuff, like even for our companies, we create our budget based off what we are used to spending. So if I have a budget for my personal auto insurance, it's going to be based off of like what I've been paying for my personal auto insurance.
Sure.
So companies are the same way. Their budget for cleaning is going to be based off what they've been used to. And, your bid may or may not look like that. Mine typically doesn't. And so I end up having conversations with people who do want to go with us with like, here's what we can do to get closer to your budget, which is always going to be for us, we're changing the scope of work. I'm not just going to discount my service. I'm like, hey, you're having it cleaned 6 days a week now. We can clean it for like 4 days a week and be close to where you're at. So we're going to do stuff like that. And if they really, we've been able to convert clients that way by changing the scope and getting closer, and then they go up on their budget a little bit. So it's not such a shock to them. But again, above and beyond to serve people and then exit with excellence. You'd be surprised about people that'll call you back. You also be surprised about the number of people that in our industry, I think just because it is so easy to get into, they'll just treat somebody poorly in that same scenario you just mentioned. They're gonna get mad at the client for having a cheap budget. It's what they're used to paying, man. Like it ain't personal, right?
Yep, exactly. Well, hey, Josh, I mentioned it earlier. A lot of the listeners on this show are brand new business owners in the commercial cleaning industry, or maybe, under 5 years. And so, talking to a lot of them, a lot of the major pain points besides bidding and proposals is really sales and marketing. I get questions every day, text messages, emails. I need help finding my first customer, my first client. How do I do it? How do I market my business? So I know you do coaching as well, and we're going to talk about that too here in a little bit. But I wanted your expertise on how you go about sales and marketing. Do you have specific channels that you market your business through? Like, are you active on social media? Are you old school with billboards? Like, how do you do it for Athens Cleaning Company?
So, I love one of your stories that you shared about the advertisement, and it was at the hockey rink.
It was at the hockey rink,
I think that's so amazing. So, we've never really done your traditional type of marketing. So what we've done, and one of our number one core value for Athens Cleaning Company is to honor the relationship. So we are very, relationally driven with our marketing. So if you think about it, now, if you're in a really big city, this is going to be totally different. But if, most of us are probably going to find ourselves in cities that are 500,000 or less people. You asked me that question earlier. Our city's about 200,000 people, but we're in Atlanta's so close. We got 2 million within our reach pretty easily. But if you're in a town of 500,000 people or less, like just draw a circle on a map of like how far you want to serve, figure out the types of businesses you want to serve. You'll probably realize there's not like 500 million of them, right? Like you're going to come up with a list. We follow the EOS system and the book traction, and they talk about this for marketing, the list. And you figure out like, well, what are the potential clients we actually want to have? And if you can create that list, now all you're doing is trying to be known by that number of businesses. So maybe it's 500, maybe it's 5,000. I don't know. But you don't need, for what we do, every single person in your area to know who you are. Now, and again, if you're cleaning residential and you'll take any commercial, then just don't listen to me. But I'm like, I need the doctor's offices, I need the banks, and then I need the commercial property managers to know who I am. And so instead of spending a lot of money casting a wide net, for us, we're like, well, we'll just identify who those people are, and we'll just seek to build relationships with them. So initially, very beginning, even the credit union I mentioned earlier, the way that I got a relationship with that credit union was I went to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, a network lunch, and I met the branch manager, and she said, we're not real happy with our cleaner. Why don't you come out and give us a bid? And so the way that we've built our business has been largely that way. We're focused on building personal relationships. If you're building for the long term, so if you're like, I don't know if this is going to work, I might be gone in a year, you may not be willing to do this. But if you're like, no, I'm going to succeed doing this, I'm planning on being here 15, 20 years down the road. Like, well, man, all you got to do is help those people that you're interested in doing business with know your name. 50% of them are going to switch cleaning companies this year. The other 50% are going to switch companies next year. So like, this is a high turnover industry. Most people, unless they're, if they're with an iPro, they're staying for a while. But with the industry so easy to get into, most people they have problems scaling, or they want to go on vacation, and they have issues. All the customers switch cleaning companies. There's a really high likelihood, if you can just get them to know your name, within 2 years, they're going to give you a call. So again, not that we're against spending money on SEO. We're not against that stuff. We think it's great. We just realized for us, it was like, oh, there's a small enough niche of people I'm actually trying to get in touch with and reach. I can just target those people and get to know them by connecting with them on LinkedIn, by seeing them at chamber meetings, by doing a cold call. I teach my guys this. I'm like, hey, if you ever do a cold call, if you're going to walk in blind to a place, then like we're going to teach them to value our relationship by bringing a treat. So I'm never going to walk in, not to say I never have, but like systematically, I'm like, if I'm going to walk into Edwin's office and bother him and interrupt his day, hey, Edwin, I just wanted to introduce myself. Well, then I'm going to bring a box of donuts that cost me $3. So it's like, at least if nothing else, there's an exchange of value from me to him that he would perceive as a value. And so that's the way we do it. I like to tell, I'm a big music guy. So I think about the theme song to the old sitcom Cheers. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. I'm like, I want everybody that's a potential client of mine to know my name. And then when I get bid opportunities, I'm okay with coming in second. I'm like, I want to be the person you think about when you get pissed off at the cleaning company that you currently have. So if you look at that, you can have a long-term mentality. You're like, you don't need everybody to know your name today, but you could start like targeting and reaching out. Again, email. I love personal greeting cards because nobody gets that stuff anymore. We all get email, but when's the last time you opened up a card and it had a handwritten note in it? You're just very rare to get that kind of stuff. So I think if you can identify the customers that you want, you don't have to be super sophisticated and spend a bunch of money on marketing. You can be more specific and relational and targeted and probably get a little bit better of a return on your investment.
Yeah, I think you and I are pretty similar in that sense. And maybe I can call it old school. I mean, I still do billboards and things like that, but I get a lot of ROI off of that. But, I think a lot of new cleaning business owners, they don't know or they forget or they haven't been educated enough to know, like the chamber. It's great to be a part of, but you don't necessarily have to be part of it to attend their events. You don't have to be a chamber member to attend a ribbon cutting. And guess who's at the ribbon cutting? Probably the person that you want to meet, that you need to get in front of. There's no gatekeepers there. The person you want to talk to, the facility manager, there he is. After hours events, perfect.
That thing I mentioned, I went to network lunch because a guy invited me to go. I wasn't a chamber member. He invited me to go, and the way they did it there is like they would draw 3 names out of a hat at the end, their business cards, and that was the people who spoke at the next one. They drew my name. So my second chamber meeting, I spoke at it. I just a 5-minute commercial for my company, and that's when that branch manager was like, "Hey, I'm not happy with my cleaning company," and that was 2007. And they're still a customer today. So, so what is that? 18 years later, and we still got them, So that's a lot of money from, that's $250,000 from going to one chamber meeting and getting lucky enough to draw my name out of a hat. Yeah. Hey, another thing, Edwin, I'd say with this man, again, it's just easy stuff. I got a call from a banker. I had a PayPal account attached to a bank account that had next to no money in it, just in case I got fraud. They couldn't blow out my personal money. And so exactly what happened, PayPal fraudulent. Bank gets non-sufficient funds. So the banker's calling me. She's like, I think we have some fraud on your account. I answer the phone. Her name's Tammy. I'd never met her, but she was a branch manager talking to Tammy. And Edwin, I don't know why I did this, man. I think I was just in a good mood that day. Maybe I had the windows down and the sun was shining. There was a cool breeze. Maybe the dogs had won that Saturday. I have no idea, man. But in that conversation, when she's just trying to clear up fraud on my account, I said, hey, by the way, I own a commercial cleaning company. Do you guys like the company that cleans your bank? And she goes, oh, actually, right now we're getting bids. And so I got a chance to bid on 8 locations. Didn't get them. I was so excited. Edwin, I still got the presentation I could show you. It was I sent a video with PowerPoint. I went all out like I never had before. And the guy's like, hey, man, we're going to go with this vendor. And I said, hey, that's great. But if you get another opportunity, I would love to compete for it. 2 weeks later, he called me back. I won those. I got 3 branches. And then the previous 8 that I bid, 2 years later, I got 7 of those. So I've had these 10 branches and millions of dollars of revenue that have come from those over the years, because on one conversation with a branch manager I'd never met, I just said, hey, by the way, on a commercial cleaning company, are you guys happy with who you're using? And so it's just the craziest thing.
You didn't spend thousands of dollars to do anything like that. It was just, you just asked a question, right? So it's kind of similar, my son, and, I had him on as the first guest, I think his first month he sold 37,000 in sales. He's a personable guy. He wants to go talk to people. I think he was at a fruit stand. We have a lot of them where we're at. He was going to get himself a shake or a smoothie or something. So he's standing in line. He sees a couple of guys with a shake, and he's like, what kind of shake is that? And they told him, and then he saw something on their shirt. And so they started talking. Next thing you know, they're looking for a bid, and it equated to a $66,000 a month account, all because he just asked them what kind of shake that they had. So you don't have to spend all this money on marketing. It's just being a people person, introducing yourself, shaking somebody's hand, giving your business card to them. You never know what could happen out there. I love
100%.
it.
How to Win Friends and Influence People, read the book, in my early 20s, and I was just trying to apply that stuff. Smile at people, take a genuine interest, use their name when you talk to them, listen more than you talk. They're like, it's all common sense. I'm like, I know, nobody does it. It's wild, right? Like nobody
Right?
does those things.
Well, hey, Josh, this is going to bring us to the next segment of the show, and I like to call this After Hours Confessions. And so before we jump into it, I need to give a shout out to another one of our sponsors. So After Hours Confessions is brought to you by DLN Web Studio. If your website is basic AF, if you're losing customers fast, DLN Web Studio is the go-to for professional businesses that want to stand out. From pixel-perfect websites to killer marketing materials, logos, and more, trust the pros to lock in more customers. Ready to upgrade your online game? Head to dlnwebstudio.com. So Josh, again, this part of the show I like to call After Hours Confessions, and this is your opportunity to share a story about you or your business that no one has ever heard before, or maybe you have a hidden talent that not many people know about. Are you willing to share something with us?
I'll share something. I got one. I'll give it a disclaimer. Some people have heard this before, but it's just, I don't think I've said it on my podcast. How about that?
Okay.
In the early years, so it's really me and my wife doing the majority of the cleaning. And we cleaned for this place. It was like a 2-story house, and then upstairs was like a real estate insurance office. And then downstairs, like the basement area, they rented out one half to a physical therapy office that we cleaned, and then one half to another company. Can't remember what it was. And so my wife and I go to clean this physical therapy place. And it was Valentine's Day weekend, 2009. We go in, and then there was like a shared common space on the backside, so the basement. So you come into this office, exterior door, this office, exterior door, but they shared a little common space and bathrooms. And we walked through it. We went to where the bathrooms were, and we walked through that door. That door shut behind us, and our keys were in that place, and the door locked behind us, and there was no exit. We were literally trapped in this room. We could not get out. And neither of us had cell phone service. And again, this is 2007 or 8. 2009. I had a BlackBerry. So I couldn't call on my BlackBerry, but I could still use the internet. And I posted on Facebook, this is not a joke. I am trapped in this building. And I said what building it was. And somebody responded on Facebook, and they said, like, hey, I know the owner. Let me see what I can do. And like 2 hours later, we were let out of this building by the owner, but we were legitimately trapped. Valentine's Day weekend. And then, Edwin, here's the part of the story I like to share, but I want to make a disclaimer in this. This is just for humor here. This is not reality, but it's funny to say it. That was Valentine's weekend, 2009. And in December of 2009, I welcomed my first child, a 15-year-old son at this point. So logistics match up, but I will say that nothing happened at our office, but it is kind of fun to say that way.
But if you're going to get locked in somewhere, you're locked in there with your wife. It's Valentine's weekend, Didn't
know if we're going to die in there, Edwin. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got to find a way to kill the time. No, it is funny though, because nothing like that happened, but it is funny to say it that way. But we legitimately got locked in that place, and Facebook saved, maybe not saved my life, but at least saved my weekend.
The power of social media.
Exactly right. And kudos, shout out to my friend Becky Finney for getting me bailed out of for the physical therapy jail I found myself in.
And for everybody listening, you heard it first on the Built After Hours podcast. Never heard before.
Never heard from stage or podcast before.
So, hey, in the beginning too, we talked a little bit about you doing some business coaching. So I love the name of it, 6-Figure Cleaner, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. How'd you come up with the name? Why did you decide to jump into coaching? I mean, I do it too. And sometimes, it's rewarding, but sometimes I kind of question why I did it sometimes too.
Yeah. Like a lot of things for me, Edwin, I'm an idea kind of person, so I have an idea, and then, from idea to execution, it's not always quick. So I had that idea, 6-Figure Cleaner, that name kind of popped in my head, probably like 2018 or 19, and I'd done a previous podcast. So I'd hosted a podcast before called the Stronger Business Podcast with my business partner. We did some cool things with that. Did over 100 episodes together. Did 3 years. We did the business summit. We had we had Ryan Serhant as speaker one year. Jesse Itzler as a speaker one year. Jesse Cole, who's amazing, is a fan of bananas, as a speaker one year. So we had that, but that was just general business stuff. And it just, I'm like, I could teach people general business knowledge for sure. I was like, but I can coach them on how to build my version of a successful cleaning business. Now, if they want to clean factories and warehouses, I don't do that. So I can't help them with that. But I'm like, well, no, if they want to build a business that looks like mine, where we're hired, mostly part-time people that work professional jobs during the day, they work a little bit extra with us on the side. we're cleaning doctors and, doctors' offices and banks and other professional spaces. We're not cleaning 500,000 square foot buildings. Like if they want to build that, I can help them. I'll teach them what I did. And so that idea came about. And so I started doing some podcasting. It's a little dormant now. We're about to re-kick that off. And then, I started mentioning the idea of doing a coaching group or a mastermind with some people. And they're like, I would join. And so I just kept putting it off, Edwin. And then literally this lady named Andrea, she sent me a message one day and she's like, when are you going to start it? And I was like, I'm working on it. And then she sent me a message like 2 months later, and it was just like a meme of somebody like doing like looking at their clock or doing something like that. At the same time, a guy on Instagram reached out because he heard me on a podcast. They like, hey man, I'd love for you to mentor me. And so then I just started it. I started it with 3 people. I was like, all right, here we go. Because again, my ego kind of got in the way. I was like, I just struggled with like, I start a mastermind, start a membership. Like, what if you do a call, nobody's there, it's just you, and all this kind of stuff that you kind of psych yourself out with. We all understand as entrepreneurs, we face sometimes that imposter syndrome, and maybe a little fear and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. And so I just started it, and I started March of 2024, and it's been awesome, man. A mentor of mine who does membership communities, he's like, look, people, they join for the content, they stay for the community. And I've seen that play out because, what we do is entrepreneurship itself is lonely. Commercial cleaning business entrepreneurs, there's nothing else out there like this, like what we do.
There's not.
So when we are able to connect, it's like, oh my gosh, I found my people, like somebody finally understands what it's like to be sending somebody 60 miles away to go clean a building. It's just weird what we do. And so the community piece has been fantastic. So I absolutely love it. It's fun. Again, if somebody tells me I want to clean factories, I'm like, hey, I'm not the guy for that. Not that you can't join the community. That's not what I do. So I believe, Edwin, that and I wish this existed when I started, but I believe what any new entrepreneur should do in the cleaning space. And I say new is in like, maybe they're got 20,000 of annual revenue, or maybe they have 150,000 of annual revenue. Like, do your best once you've got a little bit of like figuring it out, like what you think that you like. Find a mentor. Mm-hmm. They've never been easier to find. There's a bunch of them that sell pie in the sky BS. Look, if you want to have a cleaning company, you start from day one, you're remote, you never clean anything on it. Good freaking luck. Like, if you're a super seasoned entrepreneur, maybe you can make that happen. But I'm like, there's a lot of stuff people are selling that I'm not knocking those people. I'm not saying any names, but I'm like, hey, you got to be elite to do that. But if you want to find somebody who's like, no, they figured it out, like nitty gritty, and Edwin Eaton, who went and cleaned some stuff himself and figured out how to scale it. Josh Melton, who was cleaning it again at 2 a.m, trying to get done before Taco Bell ended. I was like, if I could just be done at 1:45 and I can get to Taco Bell by 2 a.m., like I will have survived this day. But you need to find a mentor and find a community that you can join and be part of. And again, there's a lot of great people that do it at this point. Ricky Regalado, you and I both love. He's got a community that does some stuff like this. Just lots of great people that are out there. So find the business that you think that you want, find a leader that you think you can follow, and then like see if those people will be willing to mentor you. In our industry, I think it's unlike any other industry. There are people who are so willing to share. And Edwin, you probably agree with me on this. I have no problem sharing anything about what it took to succeed and what it took to build the business I built, because I understand that it's hard. So I'm like, hey, I can share all of it with you. You got to have a little bit of hunger to do it, so it's easy to sell. This is what we do, because like it's going to take some grit to do it. Most people aren't going to be willing to do it. If you're listening to this, you're listening because you're hungry. Like you got the grit, you got the desire, you want to figure this thing out. So I built that, the idea of the 6-figure cleaner that I think people still feel like this is changing with every day, but like, hey, $100,000 a year, still a significant income. And so what we are geared toward is teaching people how to go from 6 figures of revenue. So again, I'm looking for people who've got a little skin in the game, or they figured out a little bit, I'm not trying to help people figure out the name of their company, but 6 figures revenue to 6 figures of profit in a business you can take vacations from. You can go out and make $100,000 a year cleaning everything yourself, but you're stuck. So this is my favorite vacation spot, by the way. I wear a lot of vacation attire. But I'm like, you want to be able to, your business is a tool for you to get the life that you want. And being a slave to your business is probably not the life that you want. So if you want to grow from 6 figures of revenue, 6 figures of personal profit for your family, and a business that isn't your master, but that you can escape from, you can take vacations from, then that's what the 6-figure cleaner community is about.
I love it. And I think you're right. The remote cleaning, everybody's pushing that right now everywhere. And it's like, you've been in the trenches, I've been in the trenches, and we've been able to build our business. And I think the people that are in the trenches, you can see they have longevity in this industry. And it is a close-knit industry. You and I met, at an industry event, and we've been hustling for a while, and we've met other people that are just like us too. So, if you're listening to Josh, this guy is genuine. This guy's legit. He's telling you who he's working with and what he can do for you. So if somebody likes what you're putting out there, what's the best way to get in touch with you? What's the website to your group?
Yeah, sixfigurecleaner.com. It'll share a little bit about us. It'll have a way you can contact me. And then honestly, I'm pretty active on your typical social. So on LinkedIn and Facebook, it's just, whatever their name is. My username for both of those is Josh Melton. And on Instagram, it's at Stronger Josh. And then YouTube at Six Figure Cleaner. So I do some podcasting there. I've had Edwin on the podcast again. It's been a little dormant recently, but we're relaunching that. And just to give a plug for that, it's a little different. I ask the same questions every podcast episode. A lot of times people share their stories on podcasts. I've had a chance to do it here. I think that's awesome. But I ask the same questions, and their questions like, hey, who was your ideal employee when you started? Who's your ideal employee now? What software systems are you using? What kind of revenue are you using? Or what kind of revenue are you doing? What are your biggest screw ups? What are your biggest secrets? So every guest is being asked those same types of questions. And I'm only interviewing, either doing a podcast myself or interviewing a guest who is a current commercial cleaning company owner that's doing at least six figures of profit, right? So if somebody sold their business 5 years ago, kudos to them, but they're not going to be on the podcast. So it's just, that's kind of the specific niche of our podcast is six figure cleaner stories.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I had a great time on the show too. Yeah. You do a great job with that. So appreciate what you're doing for the industry. Let's talk about this really quick. emceeing. Yeah. You've been emceeing cleaning and cocktails. Is it twice now, or have you done it more than 2 times?
I've been on stage at Cleaning Cocktails the last 4 years. I've been MC with Garrett Sprave the last 2 years. The 2 years before that, I had a session, and then we're so different, because I'm so ripped and shredded, and Garrett's obviously not in very good shape.
I can tell. Yeah.
You got those who don't know, Garrett he just looks like a god, and he's got like the voice of a god too. So you got Garrett, and he's like the most sincere, humble, deep, like introspective person I've ever met. And then you got me who just like gets up there and makes fun of myself and tries to, keep energy and keep things light. So it's a very different dynamic with us. And me and Garrett are great friends, man. I love the guy, I respect him. So yeah, I had a chance to do, over the course of my life, I've spent a lot of time on different stages for different reasons. So I did music. I was a lead singer of a band when I was in college. And so that got my first kind of stage time. And then, I just got opportunities to speak in front of people, and I had enough quick wit and humor that people would invite me to do that kind of stuff. I did it for the summit we did, of course, did the podcast hosting. And so Ricky's had me do it at Cleaning and Cocktails the last 2 years. And, I'll tell you, when you host an event, it's really good if you can get somebody else to MC, because you got a billion things going behind the scenes. And so me and Garrett have had a blast doing that. But yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. Again, I believe people have unique talents and abilities, skill sets. And for whatever reason, God has equipped me to get up on stage and have very fast, quick thoughts, they come to me really fast. And so I'm able to somewhat dialogue with the audience and still keep us on track to get from one speaker to the next without losing the energy of the room. But it's a blast to do it, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities I've had to do it.
Well, hats off to you, because you're amazing up there. Really you are. I think I mentioned it, you energize the room. I don't know what, you're just a likable guy, but I don't know what it is. You get on stage, and it was funny because my son was with me for this one. Actually, he was with me in San Jose as well. And he's like, man, this guy, Josh, he's pretty cool up there, and it's like, you just keep the flow going. Right. And I think I was on one of the panels in San Jose, and you were in charge of the panel. And I like to quote great philosophers, and, everybody thinks they're stupid when I do it, but the great philosopher Pitbull, this goes for the coaching piece, right? He said, ask for money, get advice, ask for advice, get money twice. And you kind of looked at me for a second, and then you laughed. And Alex, my son, has that on video. And I'm like, I wonder what Josh thought about that, in his head right there. But
I think it was great, man. I think you're leveraging one of the finest philosophers of our time. He's a very successful businessman too. People don't realize how phenomenal of a businessman Pitbull is.
He's actually in the cleaning industry now. I think he has a cleaning product or something that's out now. He's got his own cleaning line. So there you go.
He's awesome, dude. You're leveraging the greatest minds of our time.
Exactly. Well, hey, this is going to bring us to the final segment of the show. And this is kind of my favorite here. This segment's called Rapid Fire Roulette. Before we jump into this, we'll give a shout out to our sponsor. So Rapid Fire Roulette is brought to you by Wildscape Media. Does your cleaning business need a social media glow up or pro commercial that makes folks go, damn, that company is badass? Meet the dynamic husband and wife duo local jet anywhere to capture your story in epic style. Ready to stand out and turn heads? Hit up wildscapemedia.com and let Wildscape Media paint your brand in bold. So Josh, rapid fire roulette. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to get 3 seconds to give me a quick answer. Ready to play the game?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Number 1, bidding by the hour or by the square foot?
By the hour.
Greatest University of Georgia sports star?
Herschel Walker.
Chick-fil-A or the world famous?
Chick-fil-A.
Go-to hype song?
Intro song, I'm going to give you 2. Intro song for me coming up on stage is Machine Head by Bush. My favorite song ever is Dare to Move by Switch.
What about if you're out cleaning?
Man, if I'm out cleaning, I'm probably listening to some like trance music to make it go by faster. No, I'll probably listen to some old playlist from back in the day that I was listening to in the in the showers of that first fitness center, reminiscent.
Okay. Well, this last question I think will fit perfectly because you said you were a singer in a band, right?
Yeah.
Karaoke song you'd absolutely crush?
Oh, dude, listen, man, I'm from Georgia, and so you put some Garth Brooks, Friends in Low Places on karaoke, and I can bring it home, baby. Everybody will be going, woo, in the middle of that song, brother. I got you.
So next time you go up on stage, maybe that's your walk-up music, or maybe you sing a little bit of that song when you're up there.
Listen, dude, I did it one time, and the karaoke guy's like, he's got that Oklahoma swooning sound to him, so I can kill some Garth Brooks, brother. Friends in Low Places. By the way, don't ever sing sad songs at karaoke, y'all. Nobody wants to hear your song about your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend.
No, they
want to
don't.
have fun. Friends in Low Places, great karaoke song.
Awesome. Well, hey, man, thanks for playing the game.
Absolutely.
Listen, before we close out the interview, a couple more questions for you. Really the big one, for you and for your business, what's on the horizon, for your cleaning company, for Six Figure Cleaner in 2026?
Yeah, I think for us, most of our jobs from Athens Cleaning Company, most of our work is self-performed. And I really am intrigued with the subcontracting model as we grow geographically. So I think that we will definitely do some more, subcontracting. And honestly, with that, finding companies that we can help grow. So not just being like, oh, here's your contract, but like, no, we want to teach you. Like if they're going to be a contractor for our subcontractor for us, they're going to be in the Six Figure Cleaner community. I'm going to be teaching them how to build their company, right? How to have their values, core values, or values, culture, mission, vision, all those things that they need to succeed at a higher level, so that they could just be a subcontractor for a season. But I want to teach them how to get their own accounts as well. And that kind of goes with Six Figure Cleaner as well. I purposely don't put a lot of pressure on me to grow that community, because I'm like, if I put pressure on myself, and it's not fun anymore. I just want to show up to serve. So it's kind of whatever happens there. But I will create definitely, more content within the Six Figure Cleaner podcast, because I think that, I think the industry needs it. There's great podcasts. Your podcast is phenomenal. Listen to every episode. Cleaning and Cocktails is great. Profitable Cleaner, great. I mean, there's so many that but I just
learn from all of them.
I'm like, I don't think there can be too many in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. So, best advice you've ever received. I love to ask this question because everybody has something different, but best advice you've ever received. And not necessarily just for business, but for anything. Could be in life.
Man, this is the thing. I was on a podcast one time, Edwin, and they asked me the question. They said, what advice would you give the 10-year-old version of yourself? And so I was like, man, so super specific, right? So I think, 10-year-old version of me, well, what would I want that guy to know and carry with him? And it was that, man, you're never alone, dude. God will never leave you or forsake you. Like Emmanuel means God with us. And so we're the darkest time of your life, God's right there with you. The highest time of your life, God is right there with you. You were never alone. God loves you. He wants a relationship with you, and he's right there by your side. So I think that's the best advice I could ever give anybody else either, man, because this is a lonely industry. Whether you're building a business or whether you're not, I'm like, we just that feeling of loneliness that can overtake us. I'm like, hey, you're never alone. He's always right next to you. You just got to call his name and talk to him and believe, and he's right there with you. So never alone. God's with you.
Well, I like that. And I was going to ask you, since you're an MC, if you have any advice to give new commercial cleaning business owners to hype them up. But I think that kind of falls into it right there too, unless you've got something different that you want to say, some advice that you give.
Man, the only thing I'd say is that I think if you had to do it all over again, Josh, what would you do sooner? I'd say I would find a mentor sooner. And so again, I love that you make yourself available, Edwin, for that. I'd be like, hey, just drink all the content you can, but like find an Edwin out there who's not just somebody who's got a successful business, but someone who's got a successful life. Like your kids involved in your company, you talk about your spouse. You guys went through some tough things this past year. Like you're just willing to share that and be vulnerable. So you need to find a leader that you can follow. And I think long term, man, it's like, look, I think every person in life that's trying to build life significance needs three things. You need someone to follow, you need someone to run with, you need someone to lead. So overall, maybe you don't have anybody to lead to start with, but hey, get somebody to follow and then join a community, build some guys to run with. And then in order for you to succeed in this, you're gonna have to have some people that, are following you, right? You have to build a team. So new guys, I'd say, hey, find a mentor as fast as you can that you can believe in, that you believe will believe in you, and just listen to what they said and implement.
Facts. Hashtag facts. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I should have mixed in something from Pitbull right there, right?
Yeah, right.
Missed opportunities. Missed opportunities.
Well, hey, Josh, I appreciate you being on the show. It's like you got this raw talent. I mean, again, I just love how genuine you are, right? And then just everything that you do for the industry. And so I'm going to share all of your contact information in the show notes. So all your Instagram, all that stuff, Six Figure Cleaner, Athens Cleaning Company. I'll put that all in the show notes. But yeah, I mean, I just truly appreciate, being on the show, giving us your insights, all your years of experience, giving advice. It's been awesome. And even me, I've been learning something from you too. And I've been wanting to learn from you. So this was amazing for me as well.
I appreciate you sharing that, man. Thanks for having me on the show. All you guys listening, like, comment, share, review, all the things, man. This is a great podcast. It needs to get into more ears. So you guys make sure that you're sharing it, that you're subscribing, you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do for this because Edwin's putting out some awesome content for us.
Appreciate it, Josh. Thanks again.
Yes, sir. Thanks, brother.
Thanks again to Josh for being part of the show. If you've enjoyed this episode, drop a comment, share with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next story of entrepreneurs grinding after hours. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Built After Hours Podcast. Please be sure to like and subscribe and share with someone you know who is building after hours. Remember, be bold, take risks, and get results. See you next time.